My name is Kris.
And I'm Melody.
And this is our podcast where we sip tea and talk about Disney movies. We're here today, and what are we drinking today, Melody?
We are drinking...
Stop sipping and answer my question.
Sorry.
That's okay.
We are drinking lemon ginger herbal tea.
I love a lemon tea.
Plus probiotics for healthy digestion.
My digestion feels healthy already.
Oh, yes. And the lemons on the box say that they are from California.
California. Nice.
Yes.
Segue right into the fact that we, in between this episode and our last episode, we went to California.
Indeed we did.
On our prolonged honeymoon. Belated honeymoon.
Yes.
And we visited Disneyland. A place that does not represent the movie we are talking about today at all.
That's true, it doesn't.
There's no hint of Robin Hood at Disneyland
that
whatsoever.
Would have made it so
no Robin
special.
Hood ride. I know.
No Sherwood Forest.
Yeah, while we were there, they are redoing the Tarzan tree, which originally it was the Robinson Crusoe tree. But no, you're right. Swiss Family
Robinson Crusoe.
Swiss
Family Robinson.
Swiss Family Robinson tree. Now it was the Tarzan tree for a few years, and they're redoing it. I don't know what they're doing to it. I don't know if they're changing it completely, but maybe they should change it to the Robin Hood tree.
They should change it to the Pooh Bear tree.
Well, they already have a Pooh Bear ride.
Oh, yeah. Still.
Well, we need something of Robin Hood in Disneyland. It's very Robin Hoodless.
It is.
Yeah. I noticed that about a few things.
Maybe
but
it's just not special to everyone else like it is to us.
I guess not. This was my fifth, I think, time going to Disneyland. This was your first.
Yeah,
I've been to Disney World.
Yeah, I've been to Disney World, not Disneyland. It's basically just like a shortened experience of everything.
Basically, it's like a day trip version.
Just the Magic Kingdom,
yeah.
Really.
Well, how did you find Disneyland?
It was fun, yeah. I mean...
Overall impression?
It was a much more wonderful experience because we were together. It was actually kind of nice that the weather was colder. It was strangely cold.
Yes.
But it made it not as bad standing in line because I'd rather have it a little bit colder than hot.
Yeah.
And so, yes, it was a cute, pleasant little array of different Disney experiences.
Mm-hmm. So I suggested that if they redo the tree, they should do it in the style of Robin Hood. What do you think they should do? How do you think Disneyland should represent Robin Hood in the park?
Okay.
Since they're not now.
Well, obviously they would have some sort of animatronic ride where...
Sure, they could.
Yeah. And then you could be like going through it, and then like the archer arrows, you'd have to duck as going through the thing.
That would be cool.
That would be scary. And then what else could you do? Oh, there could be the money bags going across the ride.
Ooh, yeah, I can see that as a visual.
That would be cool if you could try to steal a bag on your way out.
Yeah, I just like the idea of a dark ride kind of going through Sherwood Forest.
Or I can see like Robin Hood like hiding, and you have to like find him throughout the ride, because
that would be fun.
He could be in like his little stork disguise.
Well, as you may have guessed, listener, today we are talking about 1973's Robin Hood. So
Robin Hood, he says. Wowee.
A movie you probably quote more than any other Disney movie.
That I quote.
Yes.
If anybody else out there does, then we have that in common.
So this, we've talked about, first movie we talked about was from the Golden Era. Then we talked about a movie from the whatever this era is, and then we've talked about the Renaissance in the 90s. This movie comes from what is politely referred to as I believe it's the Bronze Age.
Aww, sad.
Or I affectionately call it the Dark Ages.
The Dark Ages. Well, something good came out of the Dark Ages.
It's true. I mean, it's I think it's kind of a misname, I think, because even though this is seen as sort of the era when Disney wasn't at its height, it was kind of at its low point. Not necessarily true, because this was a pretty successful movie when it came out. 1973, it's a pretty shift time for America. Like, movies are really changing the nature of cinema. People are wanting more cynical, more truthful, type of movies, like All the President's Men, Taxi Driver, that kind of stuff. And this movie comes out, and I feel like it's got a lot more like kind of grit and almost like rawness or realness than a lot of Disney movies had come before it.
Really does.
It's also really funny, so that kind of helps it, I think, in its favor. But it was successful when it came out, despite what people might think about this era now. Yeah. Really, when you get into like the sort of like late 70s, early 80s is really what you might consider the dark ages with movies like the Black Cauldron, which
I've never seen that.
No, not a lot of people have. Is
that worth seeing?
Not a good movie. No.
Okay.
Maybe we'll talk about it at some point on this podcast. But that's probably Disney's lowest point. But yeah, so they're kind of falling back on their old laurels. Walt Disney is no longer with us at this point. He died in 1964 or 66.
At the Burbank Hospital?
Yes.
That we passed, and you're like, by the way, Walt Disney died there.
That's right, we were in Burbank, and we drove by the Disney Animation Studios. You could see where it all happened. That's where they made Robin Hood. And then I was like casually just like, oh, and by the way, he died in that hospital right across the street.
It was like a quaint little hospital. It's like, well, hopefully he died peacefully.
I think so. I mean, as peacefully as you can from lung cancer.
Oh, okay. Well, now we've just made a real dark turn.
Hi,
welcome to
our podcast about Disney and death.
This movie is a treasure, though. It's a literary treasure.
That's
it
true.
has so much funny alliterations.
It does.
It should be watched in an English class. That's what I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of funny wordplay. You almost get the sense with this movie that they were letting the actors like improv a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. Like they were letting. There's a scene where Prince John. We'll talk a little bit more in a minute. Prince John is like chasing Sir Hiss the snake, and he's trying to hit him, and he keeps saying things like "You cowardly cobra, you eel in snake's clothing." Like you just have the feeling they were just letting these actors go.
Yes, and their voices are just so funny to me, and I kept asking you like, who's this voice actor? Let's look him up. I want to see what he looks like, and then I was just kind of like, disappointed because I thought he was gonna just like look just as goofy as his voice was in the show. Yeah,
well, there's a lot of Shakespearean actors involved with this movie. So nobody really famous. We've got Phil Harris back, who plays Little John, who was the voice of Baloo the bear.
Oh yes.
Who basically Little John is basically the same character as Baloo. I guess he's not as like I think Baloo is a much more like free, kind of loose, fun character, and maybe Little John is a little bit more of the like.
He has his head on
like
a bit more.
Yeah, he's like the straight man to Robin Hood, kind of in a way. Like he's kind of saying to Robin, like, I don't know if we should be doing this a couple times. Some of the actresses who plays Maid Marian was in the Aristocats, which they made right before this. Mm-hmm. But yeah, mostly a lot of Shakespearean theater actors, a lot of British Shakespearean actors, including Brian Bedford, who plays Robin Hood. Who I did a little bit of research on, and I was like, oh, I wonder if he passed away in 2016.
Oh, okay.
So fairly recently. At least 2016 feels like it was just yesterday. But yes, I was like, oh, what else has he done? And it's mostly Shakespearean theater. But Brian Bedford passed away in 2016. He lived in Santa Barbara, California.
Okay.
With his husband.
Oh.
That's right. Robin Hood was gay.
Oh my.
I know.
Poor Maid Marian, her heart will be broken. Yeah, the voice acting, like we're looking at how those same actors were in like Aristocats and other things, and then you would notice like animation that was like repeated with. It's like, oh, that's the same dance movement from the Aristocat scene, or like recycling certain animation. Yeah.
So again, kind of going back to the fact that this is in the Bronze Age. Walt Disney is not alive. He's not been alive for a few years now, and the Disney studio is not really doing as well with their films. Even though this film was successful, none of the films have been as successful as like Peter Pan or Cinderella were, which were pretty big hits for the company. So they're having to like save a lot of money from their films and basically just kind of like pinching pennies when they could. And a good way to do that is to recycle animation. So, especially when your films are just playing in theaters in the 1970s and they're not being shown on home video. So, we notice this now because we can rewatch these movies hundreds of times on home video, and we can probably...
Home video?
Well, when we were kids, we were watching them on home video. Now we're watching them on Disney Plus.
Yes.
Or on Blu-ray. But we've seen these films multiple times, so we can more easily find where they are recycling animation from the Aristocats, from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, even.
Oh yeah,
going far back as that. But in 1973, when people saw this in the theaters, they wouldn't remember, that they wouldn't easily have spot that because they haven't seen the Aristocats for like 5 years. So, yeah, it's something to get away with. You can get away with more, I think, in the 1970s, but it is like a sign of. I think we look back at that now as like a sign of like, oh, Disney, they were like really pinching pennies and not doing well financially at the time, which is kind of true.
Gotcha.
This film did do well. But yeah, kind of talking a little bit about the story of Robin Hood. Disney is kind of falling back on their sort of mode of choosing a story of classic literature or fairy tale to adapt into a movie. This is kind of different though in that it feels like a lot of the sort of staples that we think of Robin Hood aren't really in this movie. Like most stories of Robin, I don't know how many Robin Hood movies you've seen.
I've seen a few.
Yeah, I've seen at least 2.
Just 2 is all I've seen. Yeah.
Well, I've seen at least, besides the Disney one, I've seen at least 2. The Errol Flynn Robin Hood from the 30s.
Oh.
Which is Technicolor.
Actually, I think I have seen that. That was like
really
my
good.
Sister's favorite movie.
Oh, okay, cool.
Up.
And then the Mel Brooks Robin Hood Men in
Yes.
Tights.
How could you forget?
There was like another really cheap cartoon Robin Hood that I saw growing up. I remember I like bought the VHS from like the dollar store or something, or my mom bought it for me, and the cover totally did not represent what the animation in the movie looked like.
Ooh.
Like the cover looked like this smooth, like, like good looking animated cartoon film, and then you watch the movie and it's just like the cheapest, like still like it was made in like probably the 70s or 80s, and it's just like the worst cheap TV animation. I remember being like really disappointed by that. But it kind of had. I'm gonna look that up, by the way, on YouTube.
Gotcha.
Tonight.
So, what are some of the things that it did not have? That
well, like usually see like Robin Hood. Usually the story starts off with Robin Hood coming back, and he finds out that Sherwood Forest or Nottingham has been taken over by Prince John, and then he meets Little John. They have like a fight on a bridge.
Oh, you're
right.
right.
One gets knocked off or whatever.
Why do I feel like that's in there?
It's not. Well, there's the opening of the movie, which kind of just like introduces Robin and Little John, and they walk on a bridge, and then they fall off and swim in a creek. But that's about it. There's no fighting. They're already
too
friends.
Complex.
Yeah, we kind of just skip all that, and we're kind of right into the story of Robin Hood. It almost is like the movie just kind of assumes you know who Robin Hood is, what he does, who all these characters are. Even though we do have some like, introductions in a sense of like the first scene in the movie is after the song. The really
the
catchy
song is what gets us to know.
Yeah, it's true.
The character.
Yeah, it's true.
Robin Hood and Little John walking through the forest.
Yeah, and then you see him, kind of swindle Prince John and this whole act of pretending to be fortune tellers.
Yes.
Fortune forecast, Lucky Charms. But they even have like a little conversation where Little John is like, Robin, I was thinking, are we good guys or bad guys?
Oh, yeah.
Let's robbing the rich to steal from the poor. It's almost like introducing it to kids. Like, like, okay, kids, even though he is a thief, he's still a good guy.
Yeah.
There's no merry men in this movie.
Oh, I didn't think of that. Well, I guess maybe the townspeople are just kind of like his...
Yeah.
They're his just, like, circle of friends that help out.
Yeah, this movie, I think, has, like, a real, like, almost, like, ensemble feel to it, where it's almost like a community movie, which kind of, like, feels very appropriate for the 70s, where you're getting a lot of movies that are just kind of, like, ensembles. Like, almost like a Robert Altman movie, where it's just, like, there is no like central character. It's just kind of going back and forth between all these different characters.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Robin is kind of the main character, but there's like whole sequences where you don't even see him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have like the beginning, which sets all that up, but then we kind of go into the town of Nottingham and seeing the sheriff of Nottingham be corrupt and steal people.
Yeah, and the rooster in the beginning feels like he's almost the main guy, but then he's kind of like this narrator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then we like hang out with Maid
Marian. But you see
Marian.
him, yeah.
Yeah, then we hang out with like the kids, the rabbit,
the chicken.
Yeah.
What is that chicken's name?
Lady Cluck is her name.
Lady Cluck. They never say her name.
Yeah. But we spend time with the rabbit kids. Kind of have their own little story.
What a bonny wee bunny.
What a bonny wee bunny. Which leads into Maid Marian and all that kind of stuff. But it almost, it feels kind of like this movie about this community, and that you kind of get to know all these different characters really well. True. Which I really like. It feels like very different from the sort of proto fairy tale type of Disney movie. Yeah,
it doesn't feel like other Disney movies for sure.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like a hangout movie.
It has like a down-to-earth feeling to it. Most like post-hippie-ish vibe, which I guess the 70s kind of were. Yeah,
and they weave some of that into the dialogue too. In some instances, especially with Little John, where he's like saying like very current slang.
Does they say like far out? Or he did say something.
He said that's a gas.
He did say that's a gas.
Yeah, so that's really funny.
Yeah.
Another thing I think really separates this movie from a lot of the other Disney movies, especially for the time, and makes it feel really modern, is the music. I mean, it kind of goes with this like really American folksy music by Roger Miller, which is like one of the most memorable things that I took from it as a kid. Like I remember that opening song, like really
everyone remembers that. My dad would like whistle it.
Yeah,
he would do that weird through the teeth whistle that I still don't know how to do.
Yeah.
But
which even I have as my ringtone still sometimes.
You do.
I rotate. I have like a
You're
few
like
ringtones.
the one
I rotate.
person that has a ringtone still.
I just like having an interesting ringtone.
I should probably get an interesting one too, so I could stop being scared every time my phone rings.
Well, my phone almost never like rings. It's usually just on vibrate.
Yeah.
But occasionally when it does, that's when I have it go through. But yeah, his opening song, and then the Robin Hood and Little John song. And then Not in Nottingham, which is really like beautiful.
Not in Nottingham.
It's a really beautiful, like sad little folk song.
Yes, it is sad.
And it's the first song I learned how to play on the guitar because it's only 3 chords.
It is.
It's super simple.
This one, and I guess whenever there's like a funny side villain character, like even the Jungle Book, the snake in that one makes me laugh too.
Yeah.
Just the snake in this one.
Yeah, so
it's like, hiss, stop hissing in my ear.
Yeah, little Prince John and Sir Hiss have like a really, really funny dynamic.
Oh, they're a strange relationship.
They're like a bickering married gay couple.
I know. So wait, did you say that first, or did I say that?
I think them? I don't know. We both kind of came to that.
I was
at the
like,
same time.
they are very close together.
They sleep in the same room. Sir Hiss sleeps at his feet. Sir Hiss has like. He's a snake, but he seems to have fur in several shots, I've noticed.
I think it's just supposed to be, like, the force of, like, Prince John's words to him. It, like, makes
his scales stand on end.
I guess. It does look like fur, though.
Yeah.
Which part? He's like, hiss, you deliberately dodged. Then he, like, hits him with the mirror. He's like, thank you, sire. Or sir.
And then I remember something you said when we were talking about... I think we watched this movie. This is the second time we've watched this movie.
We watched this on VHS. I've never actually seen this on Blu-ray before.
Until now.
Yeah, because we do have a VHS player.
Yeah, we watched it.
Collection of nostalgic memories.
When we first started dating, we watched this, I think, together at one point. And I said something about Robin Hood being cool and attractive, and you just blurted out, "He's hot."
There's multiple women out there that will probably say,
"Oh yeah,
Robin Hood was
You're not alone." I've heard that.
The hottie.
So was that another appeal to you, like as a kid, for watching this movie? You think?
I don't think I ever really thought of that. I just thought he was cool.
He is. He's smooth. He's a
smooth
operator.
operator.
Yeah, this movie is also like, even though the stakes I think get pretty, the third act has like some pretty like sad, melancholy moments. You know, with like everybody in Nottingham getting, basically everyone in Nottingham gets imprisoned. And Robin has to save everybody. It's still a pretty light, kind of breezy movie. It's really short too. It's only like an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah. I just love the illustration style too, like that kind of like natural color palette, and
it has like a very it has a very almost like watercolor sort of aesthetic to it.
And I feel like it is important to watch animations like that, because I mean I feel like as a child, like seeing that, like I knew it was a drawing, and like, and that was, you know, growing up to be an art teacher now, like I see kind of like what helped stem my early, you know, observations and inspiration as a kid to get into art. So
did you watch this a lot as a kid? Did you like own this on VHS?
Yeah, we owned it. I think it was probably one of my dad's favorite ones. I feel like if anyone quoted it the most, it was him. I think that's why I know that one, and I know The Grinch really well, because that's also one of my dad's favorite movies.
He really likes green.
I guess he does.
Maybe does.
Yeah. I think he just likes the sense of humor in both of those. They kind of have a, I don't know how you would describe it.
Well, it has like a kind of a folksy sense of humor. Robin Hood is. Anyway. Yeah.
And so I think that was all we had at the house. You couldn't just, this was before Netflix.
Right.
And I mean, we had the movie store, but my mom's not going to spend money to rent a movie like every single week. So
right. So you're watching it like every week.
I'm just kind of like, I'm bored. Like, what do we do? I was like, I guess I could watch this again, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I didn't have it on VHS. This is not one I had on VHS. It was like over at a friend of the family's house that we would go and visit all the time. So I would like watch it when I went over there.
Oh, gotcha.
So it was one of those. But I really did like it, and I feel like I associate the opening song almost with like some of those like nostalgic memories, you know, of being on vacation or something.
That's fun.
Yeah, but it's a pretty light movie, so there's nothing really too traumatizing, I don't think, that we can talk about for this movie.
No.
I think the closest it comes is, you know, the when Friar Tuck gets like chained, gets imprisoned. It's kind of a dark.
If anything,
dark
it
moment.
just like the moments where the snake or Prince John get into a pickle, or he gets put into his place. It just
scary?
It no, not scary. I'm saying it unleashes like hysteria almost in me. Like this, like that child sense of humor. Like, you know, like how little kids will laugh at things that are like dumb and silly.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm an adult woman, but why am I? There's still like that child in me somewhere that will laugh at those same scenes that I laughed at as a kid.
I don't think it's dumb. I think it's
not dumb. I don't know.
I think it's really sophisticated, funny humor. Just sophisticated silliness.
It's just, I think I was talking about this, like the movie. I think it's the way it gets stuck into my head is because it feels like a cadence to like the way they say their lines, the pauses. It has like a rhythm. Like even when he is evil towards the townspeople, it's just kind of funny because he's like, double the taxes. Squeeze every last drop out of those musical peasants. Like, it's not truly scary whenever he gets on.
Yeah, well, he's such a silly character.
Yeah.
Which is funny because this movie did have a deleted ending, an alternate ending.
Oh, it did.
That I watched on the DVD after we watched the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Where it was he came off a lot creepier at the end. Instead of Robin, like, you know, like, you think he's dead, you think he's been shot under the water, and then he pops up and he's alive, and it's like, yay, the end. Originally, like, he got shot or got hit by an arrow and got wounded, and they like take him away to a church, and for some reason Prince John and Sir Hiss follow them. Like, for some reason his lackeys don't follow him, but Prince John himself does it. And then he like comes into the church and he's about to like kill Robin Hood and Maid Marian is like, no. And then King Richard shows up and
just in time
and stops everything at the end. Yeah, it was very weird because it made Prince John look not as funny as a villain. It just made him look creepier.
I'm glad they got rid of that. Yeah, this doesn't follow the
And Robin was like unconscious during the whole scene, so it's like, why?
Whoa.
That's a weird kind of ending
This
to have.
doesn't follow the
Robin Hood
dynamic
movie.
of, because there are Disney movies that have creepy.
It felt like
villains.
It felt like the Hunchback of Notre Dame or something. It was very like weird and operatic.
Well, it was funny because the scene where I guess at the archery tournament, Hiss is just kind of like going around because his seat was taken by Baloo the bear. No, not Baloo. I'm just kidding. I'm blanking out on his actual name. Little John, yes. Little John is in his disguise, and he takes Hiss's seat by Prince John.
Yeah.
And so he's just kind of like banished to go around the fair. Mm-hmm. And then he looks over and sees the disguise and discovers who Robin Hood is. Mm-hmm. He's like flying around in this balloon enclosure with his tail propelling him through the sky. He's like, can't wait to tell them everything. And then Friar Tuck and I guess the rooster character,
Alan and Dale,
they get like a little slingshot and shoot him down from the sky. Yeah. And I think the music too, like the sound effects help too, because it's like this silly instrumental like boom 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 boom, and then he like mutters something. I never knew what
Unhand me, you.
Yes, but I never knew that's what he said. I always thought he was just kind of like
muttering.
I never knew what he would say, and then they shove him into that thing of ale. Mm-hmm. And then you told me, he says, "Unhand me, you." Just like it tickled me so hard.
It did. You were like almost in hysterics.
I was crying a little bit. I don't know why I found that so funny.
So funny.
And he's like echoing in the thing.
Oh, one song we didn't mention was the love song that kind of plays.
Which was actually, was that in our wedding playlist?
I think it was. Yeah, I think it played when people were sitting down.
You proposed to me to that song too.
I did.
It's so sweet. Song. It is romantic.
It was nominated for Best Original Song at the 46th Academy Awards. Well, we talked about this with Pinocchio and Hercules, about how Hercules has not had any kind of remake in the works. Thank goodness they never made a sequel to Robin Hood, which, you think that would be like a natural, like, straight-to-video sequel idea. What else? The Adventures of Robin Hood or whatever. Apparently, as of April 2020, there's reportedly a live-action CG hybrid remake in the works.
What?
I know.
You're just now telling me this.
I didn't know this. I just looked this up.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Why?
Because they just have to do all of them. They have no idea.
Is it gonna look like Shrek or something?
Well,
probably.
Fortunately, it's just going straight to Disney Plus.
Okay.
Which seems to be like their mode, unless it seems like they're going to be doing one original movie in theaters every year, and of course their like superhero movies are going to play in theaters, but for their like other side projects, I guess they're just pretty much focusing on just straight to Disney Plus. So it won't be as much, I feel like, in the zeitgeist as some of these other terrible remakes have been. Like, they did a Lady and the Tramp live action remake.
That's true. I never watched that.
No, nobody did, because it went straight to Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And nobody cared. All right, well, I think we've exhausted pretty much all of our knowledge and information on Robin Hood.
I think we have.
It's weird. It's kind of thought as being like not in the top tier of Disney movies, and from like a relatively like not well thought of era.
Yeah.
Even Disney itself, even though they're planning a remake, doesn't seem like super like jazzed about it. They don't have any representation of it in their theme park.
Yeah.
But I think it's like almost got like a cult classic status. Like the people who like this movie really like this movie. Like, obviously we can attest to that.
Yeah.
We really like this movie. All right, dear listener. Well, my tea is gone cold. And there's not much left in there but the bag.
And your not blood mug.
My not blood mug. My mug says not blood on it, which
it's important to know.
It's important. So join us next time as we talk about another Disney classic, or possibly future classic.
Indeed.